Hello, hello, hello. I am Valerie Stimmick, and I am so excited to be here for the Alaska Summer Travel Summit for 2021. This is the first event of its kind. I came up with this idea a few months ago because I wanted to create an opportunity for all of us who are interested in visiting Alaska to learn everything we need to know, since this is a very different summer than in years past. So to start out today, I just wanted to say welcome. We're going to do a short little introduction, and then in about 15 minutes, we will start our first session of the day. So let me get my slides started. Okay, so this is the way that most of the summit is going to look, in case you're curious. If you have a day of ticket, as a reminder, you are able to watch this stream all day from now through about 3 p.m. Pacific time. So a little bit different if you're in a different time zone. But to start out, I just wanted to go through a few quick slides so that you could get oriented and know what the day is going to be like. So to introduce myself, as I said, I'm Valerie Stimmick. I actually grew up in Alaska. So my family moved to Alaska in 1992, and I lived there until 2007, so about 15 years. I spent 3 summers working for one of the major hospitality companies, Holland America, which is pretty common for Alaskan young adults. It's a great way to get a summer job. And then I moved away. I've lived a lot of different places around the world, but I started writing about Alaska travel in 2013 on my travel blog, Valerie and Valise. And since then, I have visited Alaska almost every year. Most recently, I was there in February 2020. So just about 1 year ago, I was there doing an Aurora winter trip. And I, like many of you, am planning a trip this summer as well. In fact, I'm trying to go twice, once in July or August, and then again in September. And the reason I'm going twice is that I'm doing 2 different experiences, and we're going to cover both of those today. If you have any questions, I believe I covered this again, but if you have any questions throughout the day, you can use the chat box here on YouTube to ask your questions. And my husband, Jacob, he's behind the scenes. He's keeping an eye on everything. He's making sure everything runs smoothly. He's collecting all your questions, and we're going to ask them in the sessions that make the most sense. So if you have any questions at any point, you can just drop them in the chat, and we will try to get them answered. If we don't get to your questions, we will just follow up with you afterward if we can by email to make sure you get your questions answered. So here's how today's schedule is going to work. As I said, we're starting out with just a little introduction from me, and I'm going to cover some of the very highest level questions that people have been asking me. And then in about 12 minutes or so, at about 10:15 Pacific time, 1:15 Eastern, we're going to have a representative from Visit Anchorage come on, and they are going to talk with us all about Anchorage, which is the biggest city in Alaska. Then about every 45 minutes thereafter, we have another session starting. So then we have someone from Fairbanks. If you don't have Fairbanks on your itinerary, you're going to see why you should try and add it if you can. Next, we'll do a panel with several destinations around the Kenai Peninsula. I'm very excited about that one because I get a ton of questions about that. And I'm really excited just to give you guys more information because it's something that I want to have the most up-to-date information on, and the people on the ground are going to have that. Afterward, we will have an experiences and tours panel. So this is going to be a variety of different companies around the state that offer different kinds of experiences, from flight seeing to day cruises to the Alaska Railroad to the National Park Service. That's going to be a great panel. We've already got a ton of questions for that. And I'm really looking forward to diving in and having them share a little bit more about what's unique for each of them this summer as they try and accommodate COVID and the pandemic and the various rules and regulations around that. At 1:15 p.m. Pacific, 4:15 p.m. Eastern, we will have a panel with 2 of the small ship cruising providers. So if you had your heart set on cruising in Alaska this summer, or you're planning a cruise, we'll hear from 2 of the different companies that are going to be operating, and we'll learn a little bit more about what's not happening this year. And then our final session of the day starts at 2 p.m. Pacific, or about 5 p.m. Eastern, and that will be our Southeast Alaska panel. That one's going to have several more destinations from that region, and they are very excited because this year in particular, without the larger ships cruising, they are looking for tourists who are up for a little bit of an adventure and planning their own trips to come explore the region. Finally, about 10 minutes before the end, we will have some closing notes and a final Q&A, but we may run a little bit long. We're going to try and stay on that schedule as much as we can. We may run a little bit long, so we'll just take whatever questions at the end that I can. Generally speaking, each session is 30 minutes of presentation and slides, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. So that's where, if you drop your questions in the chat, that's where we're going to get to your questions, except Southeast Alaska actually has 40 minutes and 10 minutes of Q&A because there are 5 destinations speaking in that one panel, and they definitely need that time. Additionally, there will be a 5-minute break between each session. So if you are in it today, you're trying to do the whole day with me, You will get little breaks, what we call I'm a space nerd, so what we call bio breaks, where you can go grab a snack or use the restroom or whatever you might need. We'll make sure to have those so that you can also just stretch your legs or whatever. And again, these sessions are all going to be happening in real time. If you are a day of ticket holder, you can watch them throughout the day. You can come back on and off of this YouTube stream throughout the day. If you are a lifetime ticket access holder, you will get the replays tomorrow, so you can log off at any time and have access to them. And then if you are a day of ticket holder and you want to switch to lifetime access because you have a conflict or you just need to go do something else, in the YouTube event description, you can find the link to go purchase the lifetime access. And additionally, I wanted to cover that, sort of covered all this already. I got ahead of myself. Already covered all this already, but yeah, if you have day of access, just tune in throughout the day. Lifetime access, tune in whenever you like. We will be sending replays tomorrow. But here's where it really matters, whether you have a day of ticket or you have a lifetime access ticket and whether you're watching in real time. So the giveaways are incredible today. I'm so excited for what our speaker partners have been able to put together for you. And well, you're probably here for the information. It's always good to win a prize on top. So here's how the giveaways are going to work. There is a grand prize giveaway draw, and the grand prize is an incredible cruise for two and overnight stay in Seward provided by our partners at Major Marine Tours. That grand prize draw is going to happen tomorrow. I am going to draw the winner right around noon Pacific time and email them, but you must have a lifetime access ticket to be entered. So if you are on a day of ticket and you want an entry for that cruise for two and overnight stay, you'll have to upgrade to lifetime access, which hopefully that just helps make today easier, because then you know you're going to have the replays and you can check those out as well. We also have door prizes. So at the end of every session, we'll be giving away a prize pack. There is an Anchorage prize pack at the end of the Anchorage session. There are, I believe, 2 Fairbanks prize packs at the end of the Fairbanks session. And then we have what I'm calling the Alaska swag bag, which has a bunch of different goodies from different destinations and experiences across the state. And we'll give those away at the end of the Kenai Experiences and Tours and Southeast panels. And then Uncruise has also donated a prize pack for the end of the cruises session. But to win the door prizes, you must be present if you only have a day of ticket. So if you want one of these prize packs and you don't want to pay to upgrade, you need to be at the session that you want to win the prize pack for. If you have a lifetime access ticket, you can still win even if you're not present, because you've already paid and that ticket is good. And I have all this in a giant spreadsheet. So when we draw the winners, I can see what level you're at. So you either need to be present to win or you have to upgrade. You can still purchase tickets, by the way. So if you are watching right now in real time and you want to upgrade, Eventbrite will allow you to purchase tickets until, I believe I set it to noon tomorrow. So you have all the time between now and when I do that grand prize draw to do your upgrade. So you can do that at any time. You can do it in the first break when we hit our first break in about 45 minutes or so. Okay, let's start to dive into the information, because I know that's what you're here for. I want to start right off the bat by saying I am not a medical professional and I am not employed by the state of Alaska or any part of the government in Alaska, but I wanted to start right off the bat with the overview of the state of COVID restrictions and rules in the state of Alaska as of this morning. This is the #1 question I'm getting, and I completely understand it's something I'm checking regularly as I plan my own trip. So we're going to start out with this. And the way I would think about this information is that it's the baseline. So this is what the state of Alaska is saying. That doesn't mean that it is the only rules that apply. So as you'll see throughout the day, some of the businesses, some of the destinations that we're going to hear from have other restrictions as well. So just because these rules apply at the state level doesn't mean there aren't more intense rules or more restrictive rules higher up as you do specific activities. So this may change between now and when you travel, whenever that might be, but here is the current status. As of today, travelers are advised to submit a travel declaration form online, to arrive with proof of a qualifying negative molecular-based COVID test, and to wear a mask and participate in social distancing. But as I said, that is an advisement. These are not mandatory requirements. The state of Alaska has removed the requirements of testing or wearing masks. You do not have to do that at the state level. That does not mean you won't need to wear a mask, participate in social distancing, or have a negative test for specific activities you might be planning. And that's the important caveat. So if you hear from a business or a destination today that they are requiring masks, you will be required to wear a mask, even though the state is not requiring it. Just wanted to cover that right off the bat. If you're watching this on a computer and you have the ability to screenshot, this is a great slide to screenshot. There's also this link, and I will email many of the links and videos that you see today. I will email all of those tomorrow so that everyone gets the resources from this live presentation. But that link is the official State of Alaska resource. So at the end of the day, whatever I say today might be wrong tomorrow because they may change it, but that link will always get updated. I've been following that link very closely for the past 10 months. And so I'm confident that the State of Alaska will keep you up to date. But as of today, that's where we are. You don't have to have a test. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to distance unless the business or destination you're visiting asks you to, and then you do. Okay, are we ready? I think we're running a few minutes early, but I'm pretty sure Kathy's here, who's our first speaker. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Kathy, hi.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, good morning for us. We're still on the over here on the western part of the country. We got some afternoon people joining too, I think.
That's true. I see from the chat, we've got lots of different people here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to mute myself and let you get started. Please remember to cue me to change your slides and we'll get going.
Sounds good. Thanks, Valerie. So good morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world today. I'm very excited to be here and very grateful that Valerie has organized this for all of us. These kinds of summits are always really fun. So I'm going to be telling you about all the great things there are to see and do in the Anchorage area. We are going to start with a short video that we produced last year. We were simply waiting out the pandemic last year and we thought, well, eventually people are going to want to come back to visit Anchorage. So let's have a nice, new, fresh video to share with everyone. So Valerie, if you can go ahead and play that.
My people, the Dena'ina Athabascans, have lived on this land for over 1,000 years. Many things have changed since we first arrived. Welcome to Anchorage, Dena'ina Athnena, Dena'ina homeland.
Welcome to Anchorage, Dena'ina Athlena, Dena'ina homeland. I am Tlingit, Dena'ina, and Degaton Athabascan. It's an honor that the Alaska Native Heritage Center, the only statewide cultural center that represents all Alaska Native peoples, was built on Dena'ina land. This place has been a second home for me. I came here all the time with my mom when I was little, and now I bring my son. I learned to dance here, and through dancing, I learned that we are all connected through culture. My family and I would like to invite you to Anchorage.
While you're here, discover the Chugach Mountains, feel the midnight sun, and learn about the people of this land through an indigenous lens. At the center of our city is the Anchorage Museum. Here, visitors can see more than 600 objects from the Smithsonian's Arctic Study Center collections that were selected and interpreted with the help of Alaska Native advisors. While you're downtown, eat the food that has been harvested from this area and throughout Alaska. Support local artists and hear their stories. We can't wait to see you in Anchorage and say, Chinan Gunini. Thank you. You came here to visit.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that video. We really appreciate that Aaron Leggett from the Anchorage Museum was able to help us with that video and provide that warm welcome. And we hope that the video inspires you to come to Anchorage to experience the culture and natural beauty of the city and the surrounding area. So Anchorage is located in South Central Alaska, which is a great, beautiful area. We're framed by the Cook Inlet on the west and the Chugach Mountains to the east. And if you love to be around mountains, Anchorage is the place to be. In addition to the Chugach Mountains, we have 5 other mountain ranges that can be viewed from Anchorage. That includes the Alaska Range, Aleutian Range, Kenai Mountain Range, Talkeetna Range, and the Tordrillo Mountain Range. So again, if you love to be out in wide open spaces and get up in the mountainous areas, this is definitely a great destination for you. One of the great things about Anchorage is that we're easily accessible. Valerie already touched on the fact that cruising isn't happening this year because there is a cruise ban, and there's also the border is closed with Canada, so driving this year up to Alaska is not an option. But the good news is you can still fly here. And the good thing about flying is you get here even faster. So once you get to, once you come into the Anchorage, the Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, you're only about 6 minutes away or 6 miles away from downtown Anchorage. And that's only a 10 to 15 minute Uber ride or cab ride. So once you land, you're not far away from starting your Anchorage adventure. Anchorage is also considered a very safe destination. We're a large state and we have a very low population. So plenty of room to social distance, spread out, and get away from others. The other thing that we're really happy to be able to tell you is that Anchorage has had very low COVID cases. And as you can see from this quote from the Washington Post that's on the screen, we've been doing a great job at our vaccination rollout. In fact, Alaska leads most other US states in terms of the percent of its population that has been vaccinated. I just checked the official stats earlier this week, and we're actually in the #2 slot. And again, that is for percent of population that has been vaccinated. So doing a great job with our rollout, and I can tell you that people in Anchorage take it very seriously. Finally, Anchorage has perfect summer weather. We have long summer days. You heard on the video that Aaron referred to our midnight sun. We have actually 17 to 22 hours of daylight during the summer months. And our temperatures are always right around the 70-degree mark. And we don't have, we have very low humidity. So those of you who are coming from like the Midwest where there's higher humidity, you know how that feels. When you come here, 70 degrees feels nice and warm. And like I said, long summer days. So you can get out, go hiking, till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. It's amazing to see how much daylight we have. So Valerie, we can go to the next slide. So we like to describe Anchorage as being the perfect blend of urban and wild. You can see wildlife during the day and then enjoy a great meal at a downtown restaurant. And there are some great places to see wildlife right here in town. We have the Alaska Zoo, which is right in Midtown, guaranteed wildlife sightings there. And then if you want to venture a little bit further out from town, you can go to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, which is about 40 to 45 minutes away from downtown Anchorage. And again, you can see a wide variety of wildlife there. You can walk around. They're in big open pens. The Wildlife Conservation Center is geared towards conservation and taking care of the animals. So both of those places are a great place to see wildlife. Even just right in town and on our trails, you can see tons of wildlife. This last weekend, I was up a little bit north of town, and I stopped counting the eagles when I got to 10. And I think I stopped counting the moose when I got to 3 or 4 because they're so plentiful. So usually when you're here in town, if you're here for a week, you're probably likely to see, wild animals, even just around town. And in addition to the eagles and the moose, sometimes you see a bear or you see fox. So those are sort of the most common ones. Going on to the urban and wild dichotomy, you can also go, hiking to a glacier during the day, have a nice long day outside in nature, and then come back for a locally brewed beer or a uniquely Alaskan cocktail. So again, you're getting the best of both worlds is what we like to say in Anchorage. Speaking of glaciers, there are 60 glaciers within an hour's travel of Anchorage. It's pretty amazing, and I don't think many other destinations can say that. You can also rent kayaks for the day. There's a kayak rental right up about an hour away from Anchorage in Eklutna, at Eklutna Lake. You can rent kayaks, go kayaking all day long, come back to town, have a delicious Alaska king crab dinner. So it's all possible to do in and around Anchorage. Next slide. Valerie, next slide. Thank you. So we also consider Anchorage as being the perfect base camp for adventure. And what I mean by that is you come into town, you check into your hotel, you unpack once, and then every day for a week or 2 weeks, you can go off on a different adventure. Anchorage has 223 municipal parks and 135 miles of trails. So it's easy to get out and explore. In 20 minutes, you can be hiking in the Chugach Mountains. And this is where you'll find Flat Top Mountain, which is Alaska's most visited peak. What I like about going up to Flat Top, which is the Glen Alps area, is you can park your car. If you go to the left, there's like a short quarter-mile or half-mile probably paved trail. So if you've got young kids with you or people with limited mobility, this is a great trail to go on. And you get this grand view of the city with the water and the mountains across Cook Inlet. So it's a beautiful place to go visit, and it's pretty accessible. Like I said, 20-minute drive up the mountain, and you're in the middle of Chugach State Park and seeing incredible views. Now, if you're more adventurous and you're looking for a more strenuous climb, you can, from that same parking lot, go to your right, and Flat Top Mountain is there. Flat Top is about 3,500 feet high. It takes about, I would say, about an hour to climb up. And then, of course, coming down is always a lot easier, always a lot faster. But again, you get these incredible views. And from the top of Flat Top, again, you're looking down at the water, you're looking at the mountains. Beautiful place to go, bring a picnic. Another way to see the beauty of the area that surrounds Anchorage is to go up in the air. Aerial views around Anchorage are breathtaking. You can book a flight seeing tour aboard a small plane or a helicopter from one of the several companies that are located right here in town. And then soon you'll be soaring above the glaciers and the mountains and the water. So again, a great experience. I know Cole from Russ Flying Service K2 Aviation is going to be speaking later today, and she'll tell you all about the different options of how you can see Anchorage area and beyond from the air. And I can tell you from experience, I have booked many family members and friends on their tours. And each time the trip is slightly different, because the pilots talk to you in advance, find out what your interests are, and they sort of customize the trip a little bit just to ensure that you get the best views. Once you're on the plane, you have to stay in that spot that you're in. You can't move around the plane because they're relatively small planes. But what they do is they make sure that no matter what side of the plane you're on, you're going to see everything. So again, can't recommend that enough. Another thing that we like to say in Anchorage is that it's easy to go from city to summit in Anchorage. And that's true whether you are hiking or you're flight seeing. Next slide. So continuing on, perfect base camp for adventure. Other things to consider to do while you're in town, you can choose a water-based activity like a raft trip to the face of a glacier. I already mentioned you can go kayaking. You can also rent canoes, go off on your own, or you can try your luck on a stand-up paddleboard. Now, I don't know how many people have done that, but make sure you've got a strong core. It looks easy. It's easy enough to get up, but after about an hour, you'll be feeling it. But a great way to get out on the water and just have a fantastic experience. Another favorite of my own and a lot of visitors is a day cruise out of Whittier. Whittier is just a little bit further down the road than the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. You go through a tunnel to get to the small port city. And when you go out on one of these day cruises, you'll see close-up views of glaciers and wildlife. The wildlife you can see are whales, sea otters, harbor seals, stellar sea lions, cormorants, and eagles. And that's probably not even all of them. I know Lisa Cruz is going to be speaking later today too from 26 Glacier Cruise, and she'll tell you all the details. But again, speaking from my own experience, there's nothing like being on the deck of one of these ships and you hear this crack, and a piece of the glacier will actually calve off of the face of the glacier. And you see it hit the water and the huge splash that it makes. And then what's really fun is you can see the wave because there's such force when that ice hits the water. You see the wave coming towards you, and then you actually feel the wave as you're on the boat. So a great experience. One question I get a lot from people who have cruised is that if you're on a cruise ship to Alaska, you're not going to get up as close to the glaciers as you will on one of these day cruise boats. So even if you've cruised before, to any of the southeast routes, it's still worth checking out one of these day cruise boats because again, you're going to get into spaces that you don't get in with the bigger ships. So we can go to the next slide. So when you're in Anchorage, be sure to include time to explore the core downtown area. In addition to the restaurants and shops, there are public art installations and murals that tell you about the area and the people who live here. And I did want to point out the image on your left of the screen. And this is something that Aaron touched on the video as well. This is a bronze statue of Grandma Olga, and it's located in an area of town that was once a traditional fish camp for the Dena'ina people. So Grandma Olga was much respected matriarch of the Dena'ina people, and she was born in 1875. And her husband are credited with settling the village of Eklutna, which is just 30 minutes up the road. And in fact, they are credited for establishing much of the tribal lineage there. So pretty important person in the Dena'ina history. Eklutna Historical Park is, like I said, just 30 minutes up the road. This is a great place to go for a short day tour. They'll guide you around. They've got spirit houses that are brightly colored. You'll learn more about the history, culture, and customs of the Dena'ina Athabascans. So after spending the morning in town, you can grab lunch and then go out for a dog sledding trip. And you'll see this on your left there. So you can go dog sledding in the summer and the winter. Now in the summer, they do it a little bit different. It's more on a cart, but you still get that experience of having the dogs take you down a trail. And here you can see it's a beautiful wooded area, mountains in the background. People are on the cart, you know, and they're taking their pictures. The best thing about the dog sled tours is that you get to see all the dogs, learn about how they're raised, how they're, how they're trained. And you also get to see all the little baby puppies. So that's always, I see Valerie going, oh, everyone always loves to see the little puppies rolling around. So, no trip to Anchorage is complete without seeing all the beautiful, dogs that we're well known for. We just did finish the Iditarod sled dog race. I don't know how many of you have heard about that, but an incredible story about, how dogs have been used for, many years to help get, people moving around the state. And with the Iditarod, it was, getting a serum up to Nome. So again, you'll hear a lot about that if you go on a dog sled tour. The other thing that's really fun to do from town is you can rent a bike and explore the nearby trails. Like I said, we have 135 miles of trails, in and around the Anchorage area. There's actually the Anchorage Parks Foundation recently rolled out a new trail route that they call Moose Loop. And it's actually 4 trails that are combined. And when you look at the trails on a map, they actually form the head of a moose. And when you're out on those trails, I can guarantee you'll probably see a moose along the way. It's 32 miles long if you do the entire Moose Loop. But there are several companies in town that offer bike rentals, and you can rent it in town and pop right down on the trail and you're off and running. Valerie, the next slide, please. So fishing, if you love to fish, Anchorage is the place to be. So many options on where to go and, what you can catch. You can fish right in downtown Anchorage at Fish Creek. And that's the picture that you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen. So you can see the creek there. There's a bridge across the way. And then you see Anchorage in the background there. It's a quick walk down the hill from the hotels. They rent the gear right there on the side of the creek there. So you don't even have to bring your own fishing gear or fishing rods. You can just rent what you need when you get there. Now, even if you don't like to fish, I can tell you it's really fun to venture down and watch how excited people get when they catch a big fish. So there's lots of epic fish tales being created down on Ship Creek. If you prefer to fish in a more remote area, I've got a picture there on the right hand of the slide. You can go down to Bird Creek. And Bird Creek is just 20 minutes south of town, and you'll be surrounded by natural beauty, all the natural beauty that Anchorage has to offer. If you have more time, another option is consider going further down the road for a day-long fishing charter out on more of the open water. It does make for a long day, But the excitement of being on a fishing boat, catching your own fish in the open water is definitely worth it. So you can venture all the way down to Seward, which is a couple hours down the road from Anchorage, fish all day and then come back into town, or stay for a night in Seward if you want to, avoid that late and long day. Next slide. So no trip is complete without learning more about Anchorage's cultural history, and we did hear a little bit about that from Erin during the video. Anchorage is located on traditional and present-day Dena'ina Athabascan homeland. You've already been introduced to Grandma Olga on an earlier slide, so you can go and continue your learning about Indigenous traditions at the Anchorage Museum. And the Anchorage Museum is the largest museum in the state, and it offers something for everyone in the family. From young kids to, older adults. There's a wide variety of permanent collections along with special exhibits that rotate throughout the year. So if you've been to Anchorage before and you've been to the museum, keep in mind that there will be different installations that you can go back and see again. The other thing that's interesting with the Anchorage Museum is that they offer 10,000 years of Alaska history and Alaska art. So we consider ourselves very fortunate to have a museum of this caliber in town. Now, the other place where you can go learn about the Dena'ina Athabascans in the area and other tribes from around the state is the Alaska Native Heritage Center. It's an amazing place to spend a few hours, or you can spend the full day. There's that much to do there. They have live dance performances during the day. You can watch videos in their auditorium. And then they also have some display cases too, so you can go see the artwork and the clothing that's been worn. The favorite thing that I like to do at the Native Heritage Center is to go over to the area where they have actual artists working on their craft. So you can see people carving, doing beadwork, sewing, or making jewelry. And you can ask them questions about what they're doing or what materials they're using. And then most often they have items for sale as well. So it's a great place to just go and spend the day and really soak in all that history. The other thing the Native Heritage Center has is right outside the central building. You can walk around the trail and you'll see different traditional village sites, and they'll have local guides at each building, and they'll explain what it was like to live in each of these dwellings. The other thing I like to point out is that Anchorage also has smaller museums centered around specific aspects of Alaska's history. So we have an aviation museum. Fascinating. It's amazing what information you can find there. They also have a Jewish museum, an Alaska Veterans Museum, and an Alaska Law Enforcement Museum. So again, wide variety of things for all interests. We get a lot of older people who are really interested in like the aviation museum, and they'll tell us, oh, I used to fly planes just like this. And so they're really excited to see those older planes. After all that exploring and learning, you're definitely going to want to check out the local restaurants. We have delicious Alaska specialties like fresh halibut, salmon, crab. If you're not into fish as much, we also have reindeer sausage. That's a local favorite. You can have it with your eggs for breakfast. I think Valerie has had those sausage before. And you can also go to a street vendor and get reindeer sausage on a bun for lunch. So definitely check those out. We also have locally grown lettuce, carrots, zucchini, and other vegetables abundant in the summer months. And again, that goes back to our long summer days, 17 to 22 hours of daylight. Our vegetables grow big and they grow fast. Again, you can wash everything down with a locally crafted beer or a signature cocktail made with locally made vodka or gin. The other thing is we have a wide variety of coffee roasters up here. So definitely try one of the local roasted coffee options. So the next slide. So what's new in 2021? This is really exciting. Down at Alaska Resort, they are building a Nordic spa, and I think Chris is on a panel later. So I'll tell you a little bit. He'll give you all the details later today. They've been working on this for I think about a year now, and we're very fortunate that it didn't get paused during the pandemic. But the Alaska Resort and the new Nordic Spa are located in Girdwood, which again is a short 45-minute drive south of town. This is a beautiful area, easy to connect with nature, relax from all the stresses of your life. You can see from this picture, the spa is surrounded by, a beautiful forest, and the spa circuit includes a wide variety. So you sort of work your way through the whole circuit. There are barrel saunas, there are steam and dry saunas. There are places where you can just sit back and relax. There's an exfoliation room. And then I think the big draw is going to be the hot, warm, and cold plunge pools. And then when you're done, you can stop by their bistro for a bite to eat. And there's so much to do down in the Girdwood area. So definitely plan the full day. Best of all, the Nordic Spa is going to be open to hotel guests and non-guests. Now, the big thing to keep in mind, this is drawing a lot of interest. So if you are, if you're going to come down and want to, try out the new Nordic Spa, make sure that you get a reservation in advance, because we expect it is going to be quite popular and it's going to be hard to get in at last minute. Again, while you're in Girdwood, make sure that you include a little bit of extra time too. There is a tram. You can go up the mountain. And again, this is a great way if you've got small kids or people with limited mobility, this is a great way for them to get to the top of the mountain. Now, you could just climb, the mountain trail yourself. But if you want to take the tram, it takes just about, I think, 5 minutes to get up. And again, the views are amazing. You'll be able to see, look down at Girdwood, which is a small, ski town, but you can also look out and see Cook Inlet. You can see the water, and there are 7 hanging glaciers right there in that immediate area. And interestingly enough, there's a restaurant up top called Seven Glaciers Restaurant. So this is a true gourmet experience. This isn't, hop in for a quick bite. You're going to be there for a couple hours. And again, this restaurant's very popular, so make reservations in advance. Go to the next slide. So we all know that 2020 was an unusual year, but we were also very encouraged to see how many of our member businesses at Visit Anchorage really dug in deep and said, okay, well, if it's not going to be a big tourism year in 2020, let's see what we can get started for 2021. So we loved that forward thinking and the creativity that came out of some of our local businesses and tour operators. So one of the businesses that I'm highlighting here is Go Hike Alaska. They came up with 2 different tours this year, and they did each tour in collaboration with another company. So the first is the Backcountry Eats and Foraging Treats tour, which I think just is a great, doesn't roll off the tongue real fast, but just a wonderful, intriguing idea. So what it is a 4-hour tour, and you spend your first 2.5 hours hiking in the Chugach State Park, and then you spend the next 1.5 hours preparing a meal. And this tour is done in collaboration with 49th State Brewing Company, which is one of the big restaurants right in town in Anchorage. So after your hike, and you're going to be learning about the area and what you're seeing while you're hiking in the Chugach, then you're going to cook with locally harvested ingredients. And these could range, from fiddlehead ferns, fireweed shoots, mushrooms, berries. They'll customize each of the meals that you're going to be preparing based on what's in season and what's available. So again, it sounds like a great tour, and you can see with that picture how she's picking berries, but in that background, you can see, the water below. So again, great vistas as you're hiking, and then you get a delicious meal. The other tour that is being offered by Go Hike Alaska is done in collaboration with the Anchorage Trolley, which is one of our most popular tours in Anchorage. It's usually a 1-hour tour on the trolley. Well, Go Hike Alaska is collaborating with them so that you still have an hour tour, but you spend a half hour on the trolley, and then you spend a half hour hiking back from Earthquake Park. And Earthquake Park, if you don't know, we had a big earthquake in 1964. It was a 9.2 magnitude. So you can really see the impact of that that earthquake that it had on the land. You can see how it's, the little hills and valleys that were created. So anyways, a great little hike. Instead of being on the trolley for a full hour, you can do an hour, a half hour out and then a hike back in. So next slide. Other things that are new, I did want to point out a new book came out just this month. It's written by Fran Golden and Midgie Moore, and it outlines 100 things to do in Alaska before you die. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why are you featuring a book that's about the entire state of Alaska rather than just Anchorage? Well, roughly 1/3 of the adventures highlighted in this book are located in Anchorage and the surrounding area. So it's a great resource for people who are starting to plan their trips. And again, really shows you a lot of things that are available within the Anchorage area. The other thing that I wanted to point out is there are 2 local restaurants offering igloo dining. If you haven't rented one of these igloos before, it's a great way to spend a socially distanced meal. You can invite up to 6 people to join you in that igloo. And the Inlet Pub House originally started these last year in 2020, and then most recently Matanuska Brewing Company opened their igloos. But again, it's really a fun way to get your people in your bubble in a bubble to eat. So the next slide. So I wasn't sure we'd have much to tell you on the accommodations updates, but there are a few things that are happening. The Aviator Hotel, which you can see is, I put a circle in red in the center of the screen. That's where the Aviator Hotel is located. And it's in the center of town, has 250 rooms. What's great is they have new owners. And so they're going to completely renovate this property. And they're going to add some new outside decks. Now, Anchorage, because we have those long summer days, the outside decks in the summer are fabulous, because you get these great views, the fresh air. And so getting a few more outside decks is going to be great for us. The Copper Whale Inn is a smaller property, 15 rooms, more of an inn rather than a hotel. And I've got a red circle on the left-hand side of your screen. The people who run this are really just wonderful people. They also own a tour company called Salmonberry Tours, and they've renovated this 15-room inn. It has great views of Cook Inlet, and recently I just saw on their Facebook account that they've got Rhonda Scott, who is one of our local artists, decorating several of the rooms with her artwork. So every room sort of tells a story. So it's definitely another accommodation to check out. The other thing that I wanted to point out is we did have 2 other hotels that were in development before 2020. They have paused, but we're waiting to hear when they turn the on hold to moving forward. So we do expect that we'll have 2 more hotels coming online in the coming years. One would be in downtown Anchorage and one is in midtown Anchorage. So next slide. Very excited about the new flights to Anchorage. We got both Alaska Airlines and Delta Airlines to thank for that. Alaska Air is offering year-round nonstop service to Anchorage from Phoenix and Las Vegas, and then seasonal nonstop service this summer from Denver, San Francisco, and Minneapolis. So that's really a big deal. And of course, people right now, many are willing to get on a plane, but they would prefer to have a direct flight. So getting these new direct flights rather than having to do connecting flights is going to be great. Keep in mind that Alaska Air also has several other direct flights from Seattle, Chicago, Portland, and LA. And then Delta also announced new routes recently from Detroit, Los Angeles, New York City, and Salt Lake City. And they're also increasing their frequency from Seattle and Minneapolis. So again, earlier in one of my slides, I said Anchorage is easily accessed, and these 2 airlines just made it a lot easier. So next slide. So this is really big news. This was just announced yesterday. For the first time ever, Alaska Airlines is offering a airfare deal during the summer months. This has never been done before. So this is huge. Now, keep in mind, this is a 6-day sail. So if you are traveling up to Alaska, you want to book this pretty quickly. The code is right there, travel to AK21, and you can get a discount of up to 21%. Now, the largest discounts are when you're traveling on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Saturday, And the other thing that I need to point out is you have to travel between May 1 and June 30. But like I said, never seen an airfare sale before in the summer months. So book your flight to Anchorage now. We can go on to the next slide. So this also is huge news for us. If any of you have created websites, you know they take almost a year to build and get ready. Well, we launched just yesterday. Yeah, lots going on here at Visit Anchorage. So this is great. What I've shown on the slide is one of the new features because I think it's really it's an interesting and really helpful tool for people planning their trips. We have an interactive map where you can choose from one of 6 popular itineraries and not only learn, get a full description of what that tour includes, but you can also, we also highlight how much time it'll take you to navigate that route and whether, you can walk the whole way or if you need a car. So anyways, really, I think it's going to be helpful for people who are saying, okay, I've got a day in Anchorage, what should I do? And they can learn about this route, they can see it on the map and then say, yep, that's the route I want to do. The other thing with our new website is lots of new images, really heavy on the videos, informative blogs, detailed information on all the businesses. So be sure to go to anchorage.net when you're planning your trip. So the next slide. Valerie already touched on this a little bit. Again, things change rapidly as dictated by what's happening. So I've included not only the state, information on the state, but also the municipality. And then we've started our own Healthy Anchorage pledge. Again, as Valerie pointed out, things will change, but right now testing before travel is not required, but it is highly recommended. We're following all the CDC advice like everyone else. And again, you just want to make sure that you're aware of not only what the state requires, but what the city requires. And then you can look for this logo, the Healthy Anchorage Pledge logo, around town and see which businesses are participating in it. But basically, follow expert advice, follow sanitation best practices, wear face masks, keep some distance between you and others. And all of it is to make sure that we're keeping our residents and our guests safe. So we can go to the next slide, which I think is our final slide, and looks like we're pretty good on time. So again, I'm leaving you with the same beautiful image that I introduced at the beginning. Again, it's easy to get out and explore different remote areas of Anchorage and still stay right in town and enjoy all the amenities that we have there with shopping and museums and restaurants. Again, if you're getting serious about planning your trip, go to anchorage.net. You can order a visitor guide that can be sent to you, or you can download it and view it online. We also have an e-newsletter that you can sign up for. And then, of course, we're on all the social media channels. So definitely check us out. And I hope that all of you start planning your trips. Remember, there's a 6-day sale going on. So with that, I thank you for listening. And I can answer any questions you have, hopefully.
Great. Thank you so much. And everyone, I apologize if you hear a little bit of background noise. I actually live on a boat, and they decided right now was the time to come do one of the services on the boat. So I apologize. I'll try and mute myself in between talking. But yeah, let's jump into some Q&A. Looks like we have a few questions that have come in. Some of these came in early, and some of them have come in since the chat started. So give us 1 second.
I do see one, Valerie, right at the top that I can answer. Is the trolley hike easy? I'm old. Yeah, definitely the trolley hike is very easy. Very flat surface and paved trail.
Cool. Okay, let's get another one queued up. Sorry, it looks like we had a little bit of a technical question. Snafu, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know quite what you're seeing on my end, but I don't see the actual question. So I'm going to switch over to you see it. Okay, here's the question. This comes from Kenneth, and he asks, what level of tourist crowds are you expecting this summer as we return to a level of normalcy?
Well, it's yet to be seen. We definitely expect more visitors than we did last year, but certainly not back to where we were in 2019. when you look at the cruise volume to the state of Alaska, it's about half of our visitors. So when the cruises aren't running, you're going to see a lot less. Now, the other thing that the cruise lines are offering this year is what they're calling land tours. And so they're reaching out to their known cruisers and saying, well, you can't cruise to Alaska this year, but you can certainly come up, stay at our beautiful properties. So they've got some of their properties open. And again, they're running some of their land tours, even though there isn't a cruise component.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's a great solution for some of them if they're able to make that work. So let's see if we can get another question. I'm gonna ironing out the kinks on this very first session. I apologize, everyone. It looks like we were trying to queue them up and they just aren't quite showing. For me, everyone else I think can see them. I just can't see them. So here's the next one we've got. This one's from Trisha. From Crystalline. If you don't have a car, what's the best way to get around?
So we do have, municipal bus. We have Uber. We have, cab rides, just like any city would. There's also, like I said, multiple places that rent bikes, and the trail system in Anchorage is very user-friendly. So there are also some shuttles. So a lot of the different tours that you take, they will pick you up at your hotel, bring you on the excursion, then bring you back to your hotel. So lots of different ways to get around. If you don't want to rent a car, you can certainly get from place to place easily.
Perfect.
It's also a very walkable town.
That's what I always say. Yeah, I'm glad you ended with that, because whenever people ask me about that, I say, if you're not going to any of the experiences outside of the direct downtown core, you can very easily just walk around. Now, if you want to go to Eklutna or you want to hike Flat Top or go to the Alaska Native Heritage Center, you will need a car. But within downtown, if you're spending a day or two there, you definitely don't need one.
Well, and the Ubers actually love when the visitors come in town, because a lot of visitors will call an Uber and say, hey, I want to go to Eklutna. Will you drive me that far? And they're like, oh, yeah, of course I will.
Yeah, that's a great fare for them.
Yeah, it's a great fare for them.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the next question. This one comes from Trisha. So we'll see if we can do this one pretty quickly. I know it's kind of a complicated one, but what are some of the must-see sites you can do as a half day or full day? So let's just say your top 2 half day, if you only have a half day, and your top 2 for a full day.
Oh, I would definitely go, either the Anchorage Museum or the Alaska Native Heritage Center. And I think a half day in each of those. So pick one of the 2. In both, you're going to learn a lot about the history and the heritage. For me, I would probably go up to the Chugach Mountains. And like I said, there, Go Hike Alaska has a nice tour up there, and that can easily be done in a half day. So I would get out in the mountains, because you're going to get this beautiful view of the city and the water and the mountains, fresh air, get a little exercise. You probably will see some wildlife, and then come back into town, have a great meal.
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, I always recommend at least one of the museums, and people say, really, go to the museum, dude? I'm in Alaska. And I said, you got to get in there. The Anchorage Museum, and I love the Alaska Native Heritage Center. I'm hoping I can get back there, but the Anchorage Museum, especially that Smithsonian collaboration exhibit, is stunning part of the museum.
Yeah. Okay. Just mind-blowing. Yeah. It's such an amazing place.
Yep. All right. Here's two easy questions for you. Vicki asks, when is it considered summer in Alaska?
Well, I would say definitely mid-May. Right now we're feeling spring in the air, but we still have snow on the ground. But I would say by mid-May, the snow is gone, getting warmer, probably in the mid-60s. And so I consider summer mid-May through mid-September, really. It's a good 4 months.
Yep, I've been seeing that season seems to be widening, which is wonderful for everyone who likes those shoulder seasons when you can snag a deal. So that Alaska Airlines deal you mentioned is from May 1st. People who are willing to go. Next question, hopefully another easy one. Which months have the most mosquitoes?
It's funny that people talk so much about our mosquitoes here, and maybe I'm just conditioned, but as long as you're wearing a bug spray of some sort, sometimes you hear about people who say you have to wear these nets over your head, and that's more in remote areas that have a lot of water on the ground. But in the Anchorage area, you know, certainly by the end of, I think they're out more in the beginning of the summer rather than the end. So wait till August and you'll see less mosquitoes. But really, I don't know where all these stories are coming from, because we don't have a huge mosquito problem if you're just wearing some sort of lotion. So let's get rid of that myth.
Yeah. There are definitely parts where you can experience a lot of mosquitoes, but I don't think Anchorage is one of them, at least not that I remember. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another reason to come to Anchorage.
Yeah. Yeah. Spend more time in Anchorage. Okay. So I am going to put a hold on the Q&A for now. We are tracking all of your questions, everyone. But what I want to do while we just have this 5 minutes before our next session is do the giveaway really quick. So yesterday, Kathy, you sent me this amazing video of all the goodies that you have for whoever wins this prize. So I'm just going to rattle them off really quick and then draw a name randomly. And hopefully that person is watching live so they can win. So the prize pack from Anchorage is going to include a hoodie, a stuffed animal, face mask, so you have that with you, sanitizer, a calendar, your visitor guide, Alaskan tea, glacial facial skincare products, which I'm kind of obsessed with, luggage tags, Anchorage magnets, an Anchorage lunch bag, and an Visit Anchorage charger that can charge up to 4 devices, which means you're never going to run out of charging to keep photographing and sharing all of your experiences. Is that everything? They get everything?
I think that's everything. If we think of more things, we'll throw them in.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I just drew a person, and let me scroll down my big spreadsheet to find that person who is their name. So if you are, and I hope I can say this right, Candelaria C, if you are listening live, please let us know in the chat. Jacob is watching for you to say I'm here. And if you're here, we will get in touch with you. I have your email, obviously, because you signed up with an email, and we will get you that Alaska prize pack. So we'll just wait a couple seconds and see if sorry, I'm getting a message from my producer. I'm not sure what he's saying to me. He says that's a good idea. Go to a question while we wait. So Candelaria, if you are here, go into the chat. Tell us you're here. We're going to do one more question while we wait for you to answer. How much rain, Kathy, can we expect in Anchorage in the month of August?
You know, it varies every year, so that's really hard to say. But you know, we don't have torrential rain. You know, you might get a little bit of a drizzly day, but again, because the temperatures are fairly warm, it doesn't really hinder, you know, what activities you're doing. I definitely recommend when you come up here, bring layers, you know, bring a raincoat just in case, you know, bring, you know, like a windbreaker, and bring maybe a piece, you know, a fleece pullover. But, you know, we don't have those huge downpours usually. You know, it might be a little drizzly on a day, but usually, you know, it's not enough to stop you from going out for a hike or even going out for a bike ride. So I wouldn't expect that you would have much of an issue with the rain.
Okay, good. And that's, again, I don't remember there being a ton of rain. I always advise people to bring layers though. That's if you ever find my packing list on my website, it's the very first advice, pack layers. You can always take them off. Okay, so I don't think we've heard from Candelaria. I don't think she's attending live. So I've drawn another winner, Austin Carter. If you are live, we are going to leave the chat open as we go to a break. So if you are listening, Austin, we need you to put your name into the chat saying you're here, let us know, and we will get you that prize pack. And in the event that Austin is also not attending live, we will.
So Candelaria is here.
She is. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Austin, you are still eligible for other door prizes. So don't worry, you're still in the running for the next ones, but we will go to our break now so that everyone can stretch their legs and get started in just a few minutes. I am going to switch. Kathy, thank you so much. We're going to let you be free, enjoy the rest of your day, and we're going to switch to a quick message from our sponsor.
Okay, and thank you again, Valerie, and thank you everyone who you know, was here today. It was really fun to talk with all of you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, so as we go into our next break, I just want to say a special thanks to our sponsor, Fly Local. So if you've never heard of Fly Local, they're the easiest way to explore flights to over 200 unique destinations in Alaska via scheduled service from 18 local air carriers. So this is like the kayak of Alaska air travel. You can visit flylocal.io and use their intuitive map-based search platform to explore new travel opportunities that you never knew existed. So maybe you'll use it this summer, maybe you'll get inspired for next summer. And we're going to go to a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.